I won't be touching it soon. I won't be touching it soon. What would you like to do? What would you like to do? Your grandmother was a neurologist. Your grandmother was a neurologist. They were burned. They were burned. Was our sister an interviewer? Was our sister an interviewer? I was so sick that I couldn't sleep. I was so sick that I couldn't sleep. There are 12 months in a year. There are 12 months in a year. Won't he speak at dawn? Won't he speak at dawn? Are his siblings rulers? Are his siblings rulers? The child is beyond criticism. The child is beyond criticism. They were fishing in the lake when they caught a big fish. They were fishing in the lake when they caught a big fish. We may not be dermatologists at dawn. We may not be dermatologists at dawn. Were you studying for the exam? Were you studying for the exam? They plan to visit their grandparents next weekend. They plan to visit their grandparents next weekend. You're gone next year. You're gone next year. You may not see. You may not see. Passionate about helping others and volunteers at a local charity. Passionate about helping others and volunteers at a local charity. Cannot communicate. Cannot communicate. Should not breed every year. Should not breed every year. Shouldn't we be working the next day? Shouldn't we be working the next day? There is always a risk that the company you invest in will go bankrupt. There is always a risk that the company you invest in will go bankrupt. If I had more free time, I would learn to cook. If I had more free time, I would learn to cook. Can't he be a doctor in 4 centuries? Can't he be a doctor in 4 centuries? Proactive. Proactive. It's good to listen to music. It's good to listen to music. Determined. Determined. He will finish this book and start another one after that. He will finish this book and start another one after that. Your stepbrother's grocery store. Your stepbrother's grocery store. Is there a pharmacy nearby? Is there a pharmacy nearby? Second. Second. We will try to do our best. We will try to do our best. Your wife is a docker. Your wife is a docker. Although expensive, this smartphone has incredible features. Although expensive, this smartphone has incredible features. Meanwhile. Meanwhile. Can it promote? Can it promote? Same kind of. Same kind of. I will help you review the vocabulary in today's lesson. I will help you review the vocabulary in today's lesson. Would we be programmers in one afternoon? Would we be programmers in one afternoon? I will return the book to the library. I will return the book to the library. I studied English for 2 hours. I studied English for 2 hours. I can tell. I can tell. The train leaves at 1600. The train leaves at 1600. Do you have gluten-free options for pastries? Do you have gluten-free options for pastries? My sister was the messenger. My sister was the messenger. Didn't they dream in the twilight? Didn't they dream in the twilight? Transfer. Transfer. You can borrow my book. You can borrow my book. Isn't he a doctor then? Isn't he a doctor then? His colleague is a linguist. His colleague is a linguist. She had been struggling with her weight for a long time before she started exercising regularly. She had been struggling with her weight for a long time before she started exercising regularly. I learned to sew to make my own clothes. I learned to sew to make my own clothes. Could you please turn on the radio? Could you please turn on the radio? Are you interested? Are you interested? Your half-sister was a businesswoman. Your half-sister was a businesswoman. I'm going to plant my Christmas tree this weekend. I'm going to plant my Christmas tree this weekend. His half-sisters were mechanics. His half-sisters were mechanics. Shouldn't I mix? Shouldn't I mix? Not done on a weekly basis. Not done on a weekly basis. Can't they survive? Can't they survive? Was your grandson a detective? Was your grandson a detective? Don't you have to grow every month? Don't you have to grow every month? Children are playing in the park. Children are playing in the park. You go to school, I go to school. You go to school, I go to school. Can't you do a hematologist every year? Can't you do a hematologist every year? Would we be programmers in one afternoon? Would we be programmers in one afternoon? Okay, everything. Okay, everything. If he had enough money, he could go to college. If he had enough money, he could go to college. We will ship after today. We will ship after today. A driver was sleeping in the car. A driver was sleeping in the car. Do we need some people? Do we need some people? Can you get some milk on the way home, please? Can you get some milk on the way home, please? Installment. Installment. I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. I won't be playing at 5 after midnight. It's a deal. It's a deal. They visited Australia twice. They visited Australia twice. Can you wait me? I'll be there soon. Can you wait me? I'll be there soon. Her mother-in-law is a minister. Her mother-in-law is a minister. One day later, not botanist. One day later, not botanist. The car was washed by John. The car was washed by John. The dog chased its tail in circles. The dog chased its tail in circles. How many countries are there in the world? How many countries are there in the world? Was your grandfather a civil servant? Was your grandfather a civil servant? Wasn't he a daily astronaut? Wasn't he a daily astronaut? I love you. That's why I came to your house. I love you. That's why I came to your house. I went to a modeling agency. I went to a modeling agency. My microwave is broken. I need to replace it. My microwave is broken. I need to replace it. Susanna didn't say anything to you. Susanna didn't say anything to you. She is a talented actress and has acted in many movies. She is a talented actress and has acted in many movies. Not a journeyman in the twilight? Not a journeyman in the twilight? Truths. Truths. Are they geologists? Are they geologists? About 80% of the world's population lives in urban areas. About 80% of the world's population lives in urban areas. He ate half the sandwich. He ate half the sandwich. Not a civil engineer in 4 weeks? Not a civil engineer in 4 weeks? Her mother-in-law was an astronomer. Her mother-in-law was an astronomer. Couldn't he have been an officer at 5 o'clock the previous evening? Couldn't he have been an officer at 5 o'clock the previous evening? His kids were cops. His kids were cops. Should not object. Should not object. Can you give me a chance? Can you give me a chance? If I had studied harder, I could have passed the exam. If I had studied harder, I could have passed the exam. Is your half-sister the conductor? Is your half-sister the conductor? I will bow to you. I will bow to you. They are meditating in the park. They are meditating in the park. Can I bloom weekly? Can I bloom weekly? You arrive. You arrive. Do you need a license to drive a car? Do you need a license to drive a car? I am not bothered. I am not bothered. You couldn't have failed a century ago. You couldn't have failed a century ago. May not be a negotiator now. May not be a negotiator now. Waiting for you. Waiting for you. I prefer action movies to romantic comedies. I prefer action movies to romantic comedies. They taught me right away. They taught me right away. Got rich. Got rich. This issue is linked to the previous one. This issue is linked to the previous one. Do you play any musical instrument? Do you play any musical instrument? Cost. Cost. Whose idea was it to go on vacation? Whose idea was it to go on vacation? Can I taste this yogurt? Can I taste this yogurt? I am a middle school senior. My favorite subject is math and biology. I am a middle school senior. My favorite subject is math and biology. Hit. Hit. We lived in London for a year. We lived in London for a year. I need to finish writing this novel. I need to finish writing this novel. It consists of two components. It consists of two components. Her brother-in-law is a psychiatrist. Her brother-in-law is a psychiatrist. Shouldn't he be the judge? Shouldn't he be the judge? I felt very lucky to be alive and able to experience such beauty. I felt very lucky to be alive and able to experience such beauty. She may not have been a waitress last year. She may not have been a waitress last year. I'm going on vacation next month. I'm going on vacation next month. We were discussing our plans for the weekend. We were discussing our plans for the weekend. We're going to the park this afternoon. We're going to the park this afternoon. He lived in the city for years before moving to the countryside. He lived in the city for years before moving to the countryside. I want you to go home. I want you to go home. Even if you don't like spicy food, you should try the curry chicken. Even if you don't like spicy food, you should try the curry chicken. Were we rented? Were we rented? The team worked diligently all week and was ready for the big game. The team worked diligently all week and was ready for the big game. Could you please sign this consent form? Could you please sign this consent form? Is it called at 1 a.m.? Is it called at 1 a.m.? Cruising. Cruising. I cooked dinner for my family. I cooked dinner for my family. Which cinema? Which cinema? I hope to improve my grammar. I hope to improve my grammar. If I save enough money, I will buy a new car. If I save enough money, I will buy a new car. Can I go to school? Can I go to school? You must arrive on time for the appointment. You must arrive on time for the appointment. Which is which? Which is which? I have been working from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the last 2 years. I have been working from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the last 2 years. Prepositional verb. Prepositional verb. What is he looking at? What is he looking at? We didn't become songwriters afterwards. We didn't become songwriters afterwards. We will leave the house as soon as we finish packing. We will leave the house as soon as we finish packing.